Hannibal. Rome spent more than 15 years trying to destroy Hannibal on the battlefield and failed to kill him once. He crossed the Alps with an army and war elephants, annihilated Roman forces at Lake Trasimene, and at Cannae surrounded an army much larger than his own and turned it into one of the worst defeats in Roman history. But Carthage eventually lost the war. Hannibal survived, entered politics, and tried to rebuild his city until Roman pressure forced him into exile. He moved from court to court, advising kings who were still willing to resist Rome. Each time Rome expanded its influence, Hannibal had to flee again. His last refuge was with King Pyrrhus of Bithynia. When Roman envoys arrived and demanded his surrender, soldiers surrounded the house where he was staying. Hannibal discovered that the exits were guarded. He had always prepared for this possibility. According to the traditional account, he carried poison with him, perhaps hidden inside a ring. Rather than be dragged to Rome, displayed in a triumph, and executed for the entertainment of the people he had terrified, Hannibal swallowed it. No Roman general had defeated him in a final duel. Rome killed him by making every kingdom too frightened to protect him. The man who once brought an army across mountains died trapped inside a house because there was nowhere left in the Mediterranean beyond Rome's reach. And before Spartacus turns the Roman road into a battlefield, if you enjoy history told this way, subscribe. The button is right below. Back to Spartacus. Spartacus began as property. He was trained to fight and die for an audience inside a gladiator school at Capua, until he and a small group of prisoners escaped with kitchen tools, seized real weapons, and built an army from slaves, herdsmen, and fugitives. For more than 2 years, they defeated one Roman force after another. Rome finally gave Marcus Crassus extraordinary command and enough legions to end the rebellion. Crassus trapped the rebels in southern Italy behind a fortified line of ditches and walls. Spartacus broke through, but his army was fragmenting. Roman forces were closing in, and the escape ships he had expected from Cilician pirates never came. In the final battle in 71 BC, Spartacus understood that there would be no second escape. Plutarch says he killed his horse, declaring that victory would give him Roman horses and defeat would make his own useless. Then he fought on foot, trying to reach Crassus himself. He killed 2 centurions, but could not break through the soldiers around the Roman commander. Plutarch says Spartacus was wounded in the thigh by a spear and dropped to one knee, protecting himself with his shield, while enemies surrounded him. He continued fighting until he disappeared beneath them. His body was never identified. Crassus captured thousands of survivors and crucified around 6,000 along the Appian Way between Capua and Rome. Spartacus escaped the arena only to die inside a much larger one, surrounded by an army instead of spectators. Rome never recovered his corpse, so it punished the bodies of everyone it could find. Cleopatra was not born an enemy of Rome. She survived by working with its most powerful men. Julius Caesar restored her to the Egyptian throne, and Mark Antony became her ally, lover, and the father of her children. But after Caesar's assassination, Rome divided itself between Antony and Octavian. Cleopatra chose Antony, and Octavian transformed their struggle into a war against a foreign queen who was supposedly corrupting a Roman commander. Their fleet was defeated at Actium. Octavian invaded Egypt and Alexandria fell. Antony then received a false report that Cleopatra had killed herself. He drove a sword into his own body, failed to die immediately, and was carried to the monument where Cleopatra had shut herself away. The dying Antony was hauled up to her through an upper window because the entrance had been sealed. He died in her arms. Cleopatra still tried to negotiate with Octavian, but she understood what his victory required. He intended to take her to Rome and display the Queen of Egypt in his triumph. Cleopatra refused to become the final decoration of her own conquest. She bathed, dressed in royal clothing, ate one last meal, and sent Octavian a message asking to be buried beside Antony. When his men entered, they found Cleopatra dead on a golden couch, with her attendants Iris and Charmian dying beside her. The famous version says an aspi had been smuggled inside a basket of figs and bitten her, but ancient writers also proposed poisoned ointment or a concealed sharp instrument. The exact method remains uncertain. What mattered was the result. Octavian captured Egypt, its treasury, and Cleopatra's children, but she denied him the living queen he needed for his greatest public humiliation. Boudica became Rome's enemy after Rome decided that her family no longer mattered. Her husband, Prasutagus, king of the Iceni, left his kingdom jointly to his daughters and the emperor in an attempt to protect it. Roman officials ignored the arrangement, seized the kingdom, confiscated property, flogged Boudica, and assaulted her daughters. The punishment created the rebellion it was supposed to prevent. Boudica united the Iceni with other British tribes and attacked Camulodunum, a Roman colony filled with veterans. The city was destroyed. Londinium was abandoned by the governor and burned. Verulamium followed. Rome nearly lost the province, but the governor, Suetonius Paulinus, chose a narrow battlefield that prevented Boudica from using her numbers. The Romans held their position, threw volleys of javelins, and advanced in disciplined wedges. Boudica's own wagons had been placed behind her army so families could watch the victory. When the Britons broke, those wagons blocked their retreat. The battlefield became a trap filled with soldiers, civilians, animals, and vehicles. Boudica escaped the immediate slaughter, but not the defeat. Tacitus says she ended her life with poison. Cassius Dio says she became ill and died, after which her followers gave her a magnificent burial. Rome never displayed her in chains, and no confirmed grave has ever been found. The empire destroyed her army, but the final image it wanted, a conquered queen dragged through Roman streets, never existed. Boudica entered history after Rome tried to reduce her family to nothing, and she disappeared before Rome could reduce her to a trophy. Vercingetorix. Julius Caesar had defeated Gallic tribes separately for years. Vercingetorix became dangerous because he persuaded them to fight together. He ordered towns and supplies burned before the Romans could use them, accepted the hatred caused by his own scorched earth strategy, and defeated Caesar at Gergovia. But at Alesia, Vercingetorix allowed himself to be trapped inside a fortified hilltop settlement. Caesar built one line of fortifications facing inward to contain the Gauls, and another facing outward to stop the relief army coming to save them. Vercingetorix was caught between Roman walls while food disappeared. Civilians were expelled from Alesia, but Caesar refused to let them pass, leaving them stranded between both armies. When the relief force failed and starvation made further resistance impossible, Vercingetorix surrendered. Later artists imagined him riding out in magnificent armor and throwing his weapons at Caesar's feet. The ancient accounts are less theatrical, but the result was the same. Caesar did not kill him immediately. Vercingetorix was kept alive in Roman captivity for approximately 6 years. His death was postponed because a defeated enemy could still be useful. In 46 BC, Caesar finally celebrated his triumph. Vercingetorix was taken through Rome as the most valuable human proof of Caesar's conquest, then executed after the procession. Strangulation is the traditional reconstruction, although the surviving ancient account does not specify the method. Vercingetorix survived the battle that ended independent Gaul only because Caesar wanted him alive for a better stage. His execution was not the conclusion of the war, it was the final performance. Arminius. Arminius learned how Rome fought because Rome trained him. He served in the Roman military, received citizenship and equestrian rank, spoke Latin, and earned the confidence of Publius Quinctilius Varus, the governor sent to organize Germania as a province. Arminius then used that confidence to build an ambush. In AD 9, he warned Varus of a rebellion and guided 3 legions into the forests and marshes of Teutoburg. Bad weather, narrow ground, and repeated attacks broke the Roman column apart. Varus killed himself. Legions 17, 18, and 19 were destroyed, and their numbers were never used again. Rome later sent Germanicus across the Rhine, recovered some of the lost standards, and won major battles, but Arminius survived every campaign. Rome even received an offer from a Germanic leader who claimed he could poison him. Emperor Tiberius refused, declaring that Rome took revenge openly, not through secret murder. Arminius was therefore left to his own people. His victories had made him powerful, and power made the tribal leaders who had followed him suspicious. Tacitus says Arminius began seeking kingship. In AD 21, relatives and political rivals assassinated him during the internal struggles that followed. Rome's armies had not killed him. The poison Rome had refused had not killed him. The coalition he created to resist foreign rule destroyed him when it feared he might become a ruler himself. Arminius prevented Germania from becoming an ordinary Roman province, but he could not build a permanent kingdom from tribes that had united, mainly because they hated someone else. Mithridates. Mithridates, the 6th of Pontus, feared poison before he feared Rome. His father had reportedly been assassinated with it, so Mithridates studied toxins, tested antidotes, and consumed small doses in an attempt to make his body resistant. Then he turned his kingdom into one of Rome's most persistent enemies. He expanded across the Black Sea, presented himself as the defender of the Greek East, and fought 3 wars against the Roman Republic. In 88 BC, during the coordinated killings later called the Asiatic Vespers, Romans and Italians across cities in Asia Minor were massacred on his orders. Sulla defeated him. Mithridates rebuilt. Lucullus defeated him. Mithridates escaped. Pompey finally drove him from his kingdom, but even then he fled to the Bosporus and planned another invasion, supposedly imagining a march around the Black Sea and into Italy from the north. His own son Pharnaces led a rebellion before the plan could begin. Soldiers and cities abandoned the old king. Mithridates decided that Rome would never take him alive. In Appian's famous account, he shared poison with 2 of his daughters. It killed them, but failed against the resistance he had spent decades creating in himself. The protection that had kept assassins away now prevented his chosen death. Mithridates asked his Gallic bodyguard, Vituitus, to finish the task with a sword. Other ancient accounts differ over the final details, but all agree that his empire collapsed around him and he died beyond Rome's immediate grasp. The king who prepared his body to survive poison discovered too late that survival can become another form of captivity. Pyrrhus of Epirus frightened Rome before Hannibal was born. He crossed into Italy with experienced soldiers and war elephants, animals many Romans had never faced, and defeated Roman armies at Heraclea and Asculum. But every victory cost men he could not replace. Rome lost soldiers and raised new legions. Pyrrhus lost veterans and watched his army shrink. His name became attached to any victory so expensive that it resembles defeat. He eventually left Italy, fought in Sicily, returned to Greece, seized Macedonia, attacked Sparta, and then entered the city of Argos during the night. The operation collapsed in the narrow streets. Soldiers lost contact with one another, commands were misunderstood, and elephants blocked the gates during the attempted retreat. In the confusion, an Argive soldier attacked Pyrrhus. As Pyrrhus turned to strike him, the soldier's mother watched from a rooftop. She lifted a heavy roof tile and threw it down. The tile struck Pyrrhus on the head or neck and knocked him from his horse. A Macedonian soldier named Zopyrus found him dazed on the ground and began cutting off his head. Plutarch describes Pyrrhus looking at the man with such force that Zopyrus panicked and made a clumsy first stroke before completing the decapitation. Pyrrhus had fought Romans, Carthaginians, Spartans, Macedonians, and Greeks. He survived elephants, sieges, and battles across the Mediterranean. He was finally defeated by a woman whose name history did not preserve, using part of her own roof to protect her son, Decebalus. Decebalus forced one Roman emperor to pay for peace and drove another to conquer an entire kingdom. As king of Dacia, he destroyed a Roman army sent across the Danube under Emperor Domitian and captured its equipment and standards. Rome later accepted a treaty that provided Decebalus with money, engineers, and military experts. He used Rome's own resources to strengthen the defenses Rome would eventually have to attack. Emperor Trajan launched two enormous wars against him. Roman armies crossed the Danube, advanced through mountain fortresses, and surrounded the Dacian capital of Sarmizegetusa. When the capital fell in AD 106, Decebalus escaped with a small group of followers. Roman cavalry pursued him because Trajan wanted the king alive for a triumph. The chase ended before they could take him. Decebalus drew a curved blade across his own throat as the cavalry closed in. His suicide is carved into Trajan's column, where a mounted Roman reaches toward him a moment too late. The cavalryman, Tiberius Claudius Maximus, later claimed credit for capturing him, and Decebalus's head and right hand were cut off and delivered to Trajan. His head was eventually sent to Rome and publicly displayed. Decebalus denied Trajan the image of a living king in chains, but Rome converted the remains into proof of conquest instead. His final act escaped captivity for only a few seconds. The empire could not control his decision to die, so it controlled what happened to his body afterward. Attila made both halves of the Roman Empire calculate the price of keeping him away. The Eastern Empire paid enormous tribute after his armies devastated the Balkans. In the west, he invaded Gaul, fought Romans and Visigoths at the Catalonian plains, and later entered Italy, destroying cities and threatening the road toward Rome. Emperors sent diplomats, gold, and promises because Attila had become more dangerous than any single battlefield. Then, in AD 453, the man called the Scourge of God died without an enemy army near him. Attila had taken a new wife named Ildiko and celebrated the marriage with a great feast. The next morning, his guards heard nothing from the bridal chamber. After waiting, they broke through the door. Ildiko was inside, weeping behind her veil. Attila lay dead, surrounded by blood, with no visible wound. The conventional account, preserved by Jordans from the earlier historian Priscus, says Attila suffered a severe hemorrhage during the night. Heavy with wine and asleep on his back, he choked when the blood ran down his throat instead of leaving through his nose. A later source claimed that Ildiko killed him, and modern theories have suggested assassination or internal bleeding, but none can be proved. His sons immediately competed for power, subject peoples rebelled, and the empire he had assembled began breaking apart. Attila survived Roman armies, assassination plots, disease, famine, and years of war. He died beside a new bride after a celebration, killed not by the empire he had terrorized, but by blood moving through his own body in the wrong direction. Rome's greatest enemies came from different kingdoms, tribes, and centuries. Some were defeated in battle. Others survived every Roman army and were destroyed by exile, betrayal, family, or their own bodies. Rome did not always kill the people who threatened it, but when they died, Rome almost always found a way to turn the ending into a warning.